Marie Bennett sat in her office atop Chicago's tallest building, gazing at the city through floor-to-ceiling windows. Her corporate empire stretched for blocks. At 45, she had built America's largest black woman-led tech company. Horizon Technologies was worth billions and employed over 10,000 people, but something deeply troubled her. She picked up her tablet, scrolling through anonymous employee reviews. Toxic environment at lower levels, unequal treatment based on position, executive elite disconnected from reality. Marie frowned, adjusting her designer glasses. Her assistant Jessica rushed in. "Your board meeting starts in 5 minutes." Marie raised her hand for silence, still absorbed in the reviews. "Cancel it," she said firmly. "Cancel everything for the next 2 weeks." Jessica froze. "But Ms. Bennett..." "Trust me," Marie responded. "I have something important to do." She opened a specific drawer she'd kept locked for months. Inside was a consultancy report on corporate culture issues she'd been avoiding. Now was time to act, but not as CEO. She needed to see the truth with her own eyes. Marie picked up the phone, dialing a rarely used number. "Angela? I need that favor we discussed." Her voice was calm but determined. "It's time for Project Shadow." That night in her penthouse apartment, Marie studied her reflection. The woman who usually wore Armani suits and Louboutin heels was unrecognizable. Carefully disheveled hair, simple thrift store clothes, no makeup or jewelry. Her fingers touched the fake badge. Maria Silva, Janitorial Services. "The transformation is perfect," said Angela, her former college friend, now a characterization specialist. "Nobody will recognize the powerful Marie Bennett." Marie nodded, observing every detail. "That's exactly what I want." She rehearsed her new persona, a recently hired Brazilian immigrant janitor. Her carefully practiced accent, her altered posture to appear more submissive. Every detail mattered to see her company through completely different eyes. Tomorrow would be her first day, not as the commanding CEO, but as an invisible employee at the lowest levels of hierarchy. Little did she know she was about to discover truths that would change everything. The first day began before sunrise. Marie, now Maria, arrived at the building at 5 a.m. with other cleaning staff. Her heart pounded as she entered through the side door, an entrance she'd never used before. The shift supervisor, Tom, a middle-aged man with deep eye bags, barely glanced at her badge. "You're in Sector C," he said dryly. "Follow Ms. Rosa. She'll show you everything," pointing to a woman in her 60s organizing cleaning supplies. Ms. Rosa smiled tiredly. "First time in a corporate building?" she asked while guiding Maria through the dark corridors. "Yes," Maria replied softly. "I worked in private homes before." Ms. Rosa nodded understandingly. "It's different here, dear. You have to be invisible, especially when the suits arrive." While learning the routine, Maria observed everything carefully. How security guards barely noticed them, as if they were furniture. Whispered conversations in Spanish and Portuguese about second jobs and overdue bills. Stories of lives she, as a billionaire CEO, had never really heard. At 7 a.m., executives started arriving. Maria was cleaning a conference room window when she heard familiar voices. Greg Thompson, her CFO, passed by talking to 2 managers. "We can't increase operational costs," he said emphatically. "This cleaning crew already costs too much. We need to cut benefits. They probably won't even notice." Maria gripped the cloth tightly, containing the urge to reveal herself, to say she was there, could hear everything. But she needed to continue, needed to see more. At lunch, Maria sat in a corner of the employee cafeteria. a place she didn't even know existed, so different from the elegant top-floor restaurant where she usually dined. "First week is always the hardest," said a kind voice. It was Paula from the afternoon shift. "Have some of my rice. You need strength," she offered, sharing her lunchbox. Others joined the table, sharing stories and concerns. "My son is sick," said Carmen, wiping tears. "But I can't miss work. If I lose this job..." The others nodded silently, understanding perfectly. Maria realized she was witnessing something reports and spreadsheets never showed. The true face of her company, the daily struggles of people who kept everything running while remaining in the shadows. The afternoon brought the hardest part, cleaning the executive offices, including her own. It was strange seeing her space from the perspective of someone who should be invisible there. "Be careful with that desk," Ms. Rosa warned. "The CEO is very demanding. They say she fired the last cleaner for moving some papers." Maria swallowed hard. Was this how her employees saw her? A distant, intimidating figure? When the day ended, her hands ached from scrubbing, her back protested, but her mind was more agitated than her body. In just one day, she had discovered more about her company than in months of executive meetings. In her apartment that night, removing the disguise, Marie knew she was just beginning. There was much more to see, much more to understand, and the most impactful revelations were yet to come. In the following days, Marie dove deeper into her new reality. Each shift revealed more about the abyss between the top and bottom of her own company. On a particularly busy Tuesday, Maria was cleaning the finance department corridor when she heard a commotion. A young executive was yelling at Carmen. "You can't clean now. I'm on an important call," her voice laden with contempt. "Come back later, you incompetent." Carmen lowered her head, mumbling apologies, her hands trembling as she held the cleaning cart. Maria felt her blood boil, but maintained her submissive posture, observing how no one, not a single employee, defended Carmen. During lunch break, Carmen cried quietly. "I need this job," she whispered. "My son has chronic asthma. The medications are expensive. The basic health plan barely covers it." Maria then knew that the executive plan she'd approved years ago created two classes of employees, a difference that now seemed cruel. On Wednesday, Maria was assigned to the IT sector, where she witnessed something even more disturbing. Two junior programmers were discussing a new policy. "They cut the training program," one said, discouraged. "Now only the senior team has access to updates and certifications." The other programmer laughed bitterly. "Of course they cut it. They don't want us to grow. They want cheap labor forever." Maria made mental notes, realizing how decisions made in meetings affected real lives. But it was on Thursday that something truly shocking happened. Maria was emptying trash bins in the Human Resources Department when she heard a conversation that froze her blood. "They need to fire everyone over 50, said a voice she recognized. It was Sarah, her HR director. "Disguise it as restructuring. They're too expensive and slow. We can hire young people for half the salary." Maria thought of Ms. Rosa, her calloused hands, her silent wisdom, how she patiently trained new employees. All her knowledge would be discarded as if worth nothing. That night, Marie barely slept. Her notebook was filled with stories of injustice, moments of humiliation, broken dreams. There on the pages was the stark truth of how her company really operated. But the worst was yet to come. On Friday, an event would change everything and force Marie to make a decision that would transform her company forever. Friday started differently. A rumor spread among employees. CEO Marie Bennett would make a surprise visit to departments that afternoon. Maria felt her heart race, knowing her disguise would be tested. Ms. Rosa was more nervous than usual. "Everything must be spotless," she said, reorganizing cleaning supplies. Last time she came here, 2 people were fired because a desk was dusty. Maria felt ashamed. Had she really been that severe, that her mere presence caused such fear? Around 2 o'clock, chaos erupted. A marketing executive spilled coffee on the carpet minutes before the official visit. "Clean this now," she ordered Maria without meeting her eyes. "And make it quick." Maria knelt to clean the carpet, feeling impatient stares. "Faster," the executive insisted. "She's already in the elevator." Her hands trembled, not from fear of the CEO, but from anger at herself for creating this environment of terror. While scrubbing the carpet, she heard approaching footsteps, excited executive voices, all wanting to impress, all completely ignoring the woman kneeling on the floor. "Let me help." A soft voice surprised everyone. It was Kevin from IT, a junior programmer. He knelt beside Maria, taking a cloth to help. The marketing executive turned red. "Kevin, what are you doing? Get up now, the CEO is coming." But Kevin didn't move. "Nobody should clean others' messes alone," he said simply, continuing to help. In that moment, something broke inside Marie, seeing a young programmer being more human than all her executives combined. She stood slowly, looking directly at the marketing executive. "I think the CEO is already here," she said in her normal voice, slowly removing her wig. The silence that followed was deafening. Faces paled, mouths gaped in shock. The marketing executive looked ready to faint. "Ms. Bennett," she stuttered, I didn't know." "Clearly," Marie responded, her voice calm but firm. Kevin was still kneeling, the coffee-stained cloth in his hands, his eyes wide with recognition. "Everyone in the conference room in 5 minutes," Marie announced. "Everyone means everyone, cleaning staff included." She turned to Ms. Rosa, who trembled slightly. "Especially you, Rosa. I need everyone to hear what I have to say." The hallway quickly emptied, leaving Marie alone for a moment. She took a deep breath, preparing for the speech that would change her company forever. The conference room had never been so full. Executives in expensive suits sat next to cleaning staff, the discomfort palpable as Marie stood, observing each face. "For 2 weeks," she began, her voice firm, "I worked as Maria Silva from the cleaning team. I saw our company from an angle no report could show." She paused, her eyes meeting Ms. Rosa's. "I learned more in these days than in years of executive meetings. I discovered a company that's not the one I thought I built." Marie picked up her notebook. "I found employees skipping meals because they can't afford cafeteria food, while we throw away leftovers from the executive buffet daily." Some executives shifted uncomfortably in their chairs. "I saw sick people working because they're afraid of losing their jobs, while we approve $1 million bonuses for directors." Sarah, the HR director, seemed to want to disappear when Marie looked at her. "I heard plans to fire older employees, discarding decades of experience out of pure prejudice." Her voice carried a mixture of sadness and determination. "But I also saw hope." She turned to Kevin, still holding the coffee-stained cloth. "I saw people like Kevin who aren't afraid to kneel to help a colleague." "Today," Marie continued, "everything changes. Starting now, we'll have one health plan, the same executives have for all employees." Murmurs of surprise filled the room. "The training program will be expanded to all levels. We want everyone to have a chance to grow." Silent tears ran down Carmen's face. "Salaries will be reviewed. The gap between highest and lowest will be drastically reduced, including mine." Executives exchanged nervous looks, but Marie wasn't finished. "And for those who created an environment of fear and humiliation, your positions will be reevaluated. I won't tolerate this behavior at any level anymore." She paused significantly, looking directly at certain board members. Some of you may find these changes radical, but what's really radical is that we allowed our company to become a place where people are treated as invisible. The silence following her speech was broken by an unexpected sound. Ms. Rosa started applauding, tears streaming down her face. Soon Carmen joined her, then Kevin, and in seconds the entire room, except for some executives, was applauding standing up. But Marie knew words weren't enough. In the months that followed, each promise was kept, each change implemented, regardless of cost. The transformation began immediately. The next day, cafeteria divisions were removed, executives and employees sharing the same tables, eating the same food. The old executive restaurant was transformed into a daycare for employees' children. Carmen's son was the first enrolled. Now she could work knowing he was safe, receiving his medications on time. The expanded training program bore its first fruits in weeks. Kevin was promoted to team leader after presenting innovative ideas that previously no one would have heard. Ms. Rosa no longer had to worry about age-based dismissals. On the contrary, she was appointed training supervisor, her experience finally recognized and valued. Some executives resigned, not accepting the changes. Others stayed, learning a new way of leading, more human, more inclusive. 6 months later, Horizon Technologies appeared in the news, not for record profits, but for having the smallest CEO-to-worker pay gap in the tech sector. A year after the revelation, Marie sat again in her office, reading new employee reviews. Best place to work, company that really cares. Here we're all equal. She smiled, looking through the window at the same Chicago skyline, but a completely different company. Her assistant, Jessica, entered. "Your meeting with the cleaning team is starting." "Thank you," Marie responded, standing. "I don't want to be late for the monthly breakfast with them." Walking through the corridors, employees greeted her not with fear, but with respect. Not as a distant CEO, but as someone who understood that a company is made of people, all equally important. In the cafeteria, Ms. Rosa saved a place for her, as she always did. "You know," she said as Marie sat down, "that day changed everything. But it wasn't just what you did. It was because you wanted to see, wanted to understand, wanted to change." Marie picked up her coffee cup, identical to all others on the table. "Sometimes," she responded, "we need to get lost to find the right path." And there, sitting among people who were once invisible, now family, Marie knew she had done the right thing. Because in the end, a leader's greatest power isn't commanding from above, but lifting everyone around until there is no more above or below, just people working together for something greater.